Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over the newest expansion for the Lost Ruins of Arnak Missing Expedition. Now, originally I was going to do this as a two-player series, because the expansion comes with a campaign that can be played solo or two players, but it was just easier for me to do it solo. So if you don't know, I did an entire series on this, all 6 chapters of the expansion, and that entire series does showcase everything that comes in this box. I incorporated it into the expansion. If you don't have the time to go watch that, that's okay. I'm going to still talk about everything that this expansion includes, and obviously my overall thoughts on it. But just for fun, the campaign was quite enjoyable to do, actually. So let's go ahead and talk about that first. The campaign that this introduces is like I said, is a 6-parter, each about taking a little over an hour. And CGE kind of does relatively well with their very short, concise campaigns, because they have another one for Under Falling Skies, which is like a very short campaign, but still feels very rich and fulfilling, and this is no exception. The 6 games feels right. Like, it doesn't feel like it's too short, and it doesn't feel like it's too long, and they did just enough on each of those chapters to kind of make you want to keep going back and playing them. And each of the chapters gave you a unique challenge to actually go through. Now, how fun is it going to be on repeat? I mean, I probably won't ever do the campaign again, because it's still based on the Lost Ruins of Arnak, which is a worker placement deck building game, and not intended to be written into a story. So it was fun. Like, I had a good time with the campaign, and whenever it was over, I was like, all right, yeah, that was satisfying. It was a very, very short kind of ordeal, like, very nice experience. But yeah, I don't ever see myself being like, ooh, well, now what if I went back and tried doing this? Which the game does give you. It's not like it's a one and done. They actually wove in some narrative elements with this little sheet for icons that whenever you play again, like if you do the campaign again, especially if you know what you're doing, you might actually go for different icons to get a different, ending. There's 3 endings that you can get, which is pretty neat, and they all kind of fit into your overall narrative, like what you focused on in terms of your icons. Each of these icons actually do mean something, and whichever one you did, that's the ending you get. But also, it's based on your overall score. So not the score you get game to game, it's your score plus, minus your opponent's score. So the difference between that over 6 games, you add up, and then when you go to your ending, it's like, okay, well, here's what happens in your ending based off your score. And if you get a really high score, obviously you get the best ending for that particular one. So each ending has, like, I think it was 3 or 4 different options. So there's enough replayability there. Each chapter comes with its own deck of event cards and different ways to obtain them. So you might get a different story based off of that. So there is enough random elements that you wouldn't be going through the same beats of the campaign. In fact, you could always jot down who you used. If you have the other expansion, which I highly recommend you get, I think it's the Leaders, Expedition Leaders expansion. Highly, highly recommend that. You can actually play each chapter with a different leader. Like, and be like, ooh, okay, I want to know how this chapter plays if I use this person, because they're going to have their own strengths and weaknesses based off how you're going to go about it. My worst game was actually the 5th chapter, where I beat where the difference between my opponent and myself was only 1 point, and that's like, geez, like, what happened? I thought I was doing super well. And it did fluctuate. Like, I wouldn't say that I played on regular difficulty. And I wouldn't say that the solo guy he wasn't too hard, he wasn't too easy. It felt like a decent challenge at the end. There was like maybe 1 or 2 chapters that I truly felt like I was like, I got this. But most of them I was like, I don't know. I hope I win. Because it went from chapter 1, I had 17, a difference of 17, then a difference of 8, then 22, then 26, then 1, and then 31 in the final chapter. And I should also say, without spoiling anything, chapter 6, I'm really glad it was designed in such a way that it didn't feel unfair. Like, because it's not based off your score. Like, it doesn't just go, all right, add up your score, and if you get this value, then this is your ending. Like, that's how you win or not. You win if you basically do what the objective is of each chapter, and you at least do that, then you win the chapter. Now, your score, of course, is going to be for way later, but if you just care about winning the campaign, then just focus on the objective, and that's that. I also liked how each chapter gave objectives. It had your main objective that you had to complete, but then also it had achievements that you could do that was different for each chapter. And they were, like, I think only 1 chapter did I do all of them. Like, the first chapter I only did 2, second chapter I didn't do any, third chapter I did 2, fourth chapter I only got 1, fifth chapter I got all of them, which was funny enough my worst score, and the sixth chapter I only got 1. And each of these achievements rewards you with either an item or an artifact that goes onto your deck. So you can look at those and be like, ooh, that'll be really good. I'm going to try and go for that achievement. And it just feels rewarding to actually get. And then, on top of that, when you do the scenario events, like the events, you have a couple options. One, you have a little story with really nice art, and you have an immediate effect that you can do, or the other effect that you can hold on to for a later ability, if you can try and stack it in such a way that that later ability will come in handy. But sometimes, go into a location and reading it and be like, oh, that's perfect for what I want to do right now. And you can actually do this before or after you see your location, if you need it to, like if they're on location spots. So you can see what the location is before you do something. And it's like, ooh, man, okay, I'm going to get some items if I choose the gold immediate spot. But that weight spot is, or that weight ability is really, really good. And then you see the Guardian, and it's like, oh, well, actually the items I get from this allow me to overcome that. I'm just going to do that. Or whatever you choose. And these events are what's going to determine what icons you get, which of course determines your ending. I think that's really cool. It's all unique. It fits really well for Lost Ruins. Gives Lost Ruins even more theme in this Indiana Jones archaeological mysterious island universe that they've created. So overall, I think the campaign is a very, very nice touch because it's not just that. You don't have to you don't even have to play the campaign at all. You can just buy it and take all the items that the game comes with and throw them in your decks, and you're good. Like, that's just something you can do. I highly recommend you do the campaign and then put everything into their decks, because the game comes with, depending on the numbers you get to on your little sheet, that will unlock items for you for the next chapter. So that is one thing about the campaign that was that I did feel was a little bit, at least initially. Initially, I felt it was a little bit lacking because I like my campaigns to obviously show progression from game to game. So if you're looking for something that's like, ooh, I get to customize my deck and it's gonna change each chapter, it doesn't do that. All the items that you unlock through achievements or through the icon sheet, those are only for that chapter, and then they just get shuffled into the deck. So they could come back later. You do unlock those as potential buys for later on chapters, but you're not creating a customized deck. Like whenever you get an item from the achievement, it goes on top of your deck. and then the next game you start with your standard deck if you don't have any of the leaders. If you do have the leaders, you start with your standard deck. And then the items you unlock from this sheet, those help you in the next chapter. Which, one thing I did kind of find of annoying was if you unlocked an artifact, while it was nice to actually have an artifact in your deck because they're usually very powerful, you still needed a tablet to actually activate it, because the only time you get to instantly use these is when you buy them. It's like, boom, here's the ability, and now you have to start paying for it. When you unlock an item, you don't get the ability, so it just kind of is in your deck, which is still an extra card, and that's good, and usually it's very easy to get a tablet, so if you know that it's at the bottom, you can be like, oh, my first action is to go get 2 tablets at the campsite. So, next turn when I do draw that artifact, I'll have a tablet to go spend. So, in terms of the campaign, really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But the weird thing about the campaign that I would say was ever present in every chapter was, if you love or like Lost Ruins of Arnak for the freedom to play Lost Ruins of Arnak, you're not going to get to do that. And what I mean by that is because the game is only 5 rounds, so that's a tight game anyway. When you're having to manage, I manage the solo player, but the way the solo player is doing the rules of each chapter, which is laid out thematically and is fantastic, I'm going to go ahead and say that I never read ahead for a chapter to game plan. Every time if you go watch my videos, every time I was going over the chapter at the very beginning of the video, that was me learning it then and there. So obviously, as long as you know how to play Lost Ruins of Arnak, you can read each chapter, and it thematically tells you what's happening, and then how the sets are. So I'd have the board set up. That's the only time I read ahead. But then in terms of rules of how you won or lost or what was going on, I learned that while I was, explaining what was happening. So it's very, very digestible. But on top of managing the solo player, the achievements, how you win, it's very, very tight. So you're not going to have the freedom to be like, I want to try and do this, or play Lost Ruins in any way that you want, because you're not going to have the time to do it. You don't have the leisurely pace of being like, okay, I'll go there, get some compasses, and then I'll save up, and then I'll come up here. You can't really do that. You have to be pretty efficient each chapter. So I can see some people not liking that because they feel like it's taking away from the actual game, and it's like, well, this is all I'm doing. All I'm doing is overcoming Guardians, because that's what this chapter wants me to do. So I have to play, and I have to hope that artifacts and items come out that help me do that. Otherwise, I'm not going to do well. And that is a very valid concern. If I know a lot of my chapters were extremely lucky at which card I happened to draw or which artifact happened to come out, where it's like, oh man, I have to overcome every Guardian that's out on the board. Okay, well, if I go there and there, I can get the stuff to overcome that Guardian. Oh, never mind, that artifact just came out that lets me do it for free. There's a lot of that, which can kind of determine how fun you might have in a chapter. Because like I said, it's each chapter, while the solo player is not hard, he's also not easy. If you don't keep up with exactly what the chapter is going to do, the solo player is going to run away with it. One chapter, for example, has a third party kind of moving forward, and you lose if he gets to the end of his path. That's by the end of round 3 if you never touch him, because he rapidly, by the end of round 3, because it was every time the Automa did a campsite action, that token moved. So, and because there's 5 campsites action, and you always go through his 10 tiles, it's 15 spots before he gets to the end. So if you don't actively keep up with it, then you're just gonna lose. So, and this game is kind of fail forward. If you do lose a campaign or a chapter, then you can choose to redo it, or it does say if you choose to accept the loss, then there's a penalty like at the end, which is nice. I actually like how if you just read, oh, okay, here's chapter 2, and if you choose to accept the loss, you read, there's actually a story element, so which is cool, and then there's a penalty. So there's a penalty for your next chapter, but you don't necessarily, I guess, fail forward, but not in a really good way. But I would much rather have a penalty for the next chapter than it just being like, do it again, because I don't redo shit in board games, because I don't have to, because it's physical, and I can just be like, anyway, moving on. Like, you can alternate in some way to be like, okay, I won't get this benefit, or I won't do this, or you can just outright be like, no, I won, and move forward. You can do whatever you want. It's your game. I could rip up all these cards if I wanted to. Video games, if you lose, if you can't beat a boss, or you can't beat a chapter because it's too hard and there's no difficulty setting, you just either have to quit playing that game, or you have to figure out some way to get better and to progress forward. Board games don't have that, so the alternative that they chose of letting you redo it to try to win, be like, oh, you know what, if I had done this, I would have won, or now that I understand what the chapter's about, I'll do it again to try to win for your own personal thing. But if you just don't feel like doing it because you can only play, once a week, and you're like, I just want to go to the next chapter, then accept the penalty and move forward. But at least there's still a story element, which I like. The other thing that's really, I'd actually say that this is my biggest negative of the campaign, it says it's 1 to 2, which it is. You can play this at 2. I would highly recommend that you don't, though. Because it's fully cooperative. Like, if you are, which is cool. Like, you can play, if you have a significant other or a buddy who really likes this or whatever, you can choose to play the campaign at 2. But it drastically ramps up the difficulty, where if one person's being really efficient and the other person is either getting bad luck or is not as efficient, you're going to lose. And it just, it doesn't feel cooperative, because there's no actions that you do in Lost Ruins of Arnak, which is a competitive game, that is cooperative. Like, none of the rules change to let you do certain things. Now, everyone gets a token that lets you transfer items once or something, but it's normally like, okay, well, I'd really like that artifact. Do you want that artifact? No? Okay, then I'm gonna get it. Like, you do take turns doing an action, but yeah, it just felt like, oh, I want to go here and get two gold. Oh man, I really needed to go there, and now it's gonna cost two boots for me to go there. You almost feel like you're getting in each other's way. Like, the very first chapter, for example, is everyone has to. There's 2 guardians that get placed. In a solo game, it's just the one, but there's 2 guardians that get placed. Both players have to get up to the top of the track and defeat one of each of them. Like, one has to defeat one, the other one has to defeat the other one. That's difficult to do. That means both players have to be super efficient on getting resources that they need to get up the track to then overcome a guardian. And so you're just in each other's way by not having enough items to buy, not having enough resources to go, not having enough locations to place, not even having enough workers, on top of the solo player taking stuff, taking items, taking artifacts, taking the free upgrades, taking the artifacts. It's too much. The game feels way unbalanced in a 2-player game for the campaign, and very balanced solo. So that's just me, though, and the person I was going to do this campaign with. We started to do it, and then we were like, nope, not happening. So that's my only negative. I don't know why they'd say you should do it at. I mean, it almost seems like, what does it say on the back? Expand the standard Arnak base game for 1 to 4 players, or play the solo or 2-player cooperative campaign. Yeah, I would honestly just say play this solo, and you're going to have a much much better time, especially because the solo variant for Lost Ruins is so great that it's it's designed around it being using the harder variant, but I'd say it goes really well. And I know I'm still talking about the campaign, and each chapter has two adjustments you can make. You can do student mode, which is actually an easier difficulty. So if you are having trouble winning the chapters, you can actually make it easier. But it also has Arnakologist mode, which makes the game harder. So for example, in chapter 1, it's basically kind of set up like a normal game of Arnak. And then in student mode, you go through the item deck and you take ostrich, sea turtle, or pack donkey, and that goes on top of your deck. And then Arnakologist mode is you start with 1 less gold. The owl and the eagle, if you're playing 2-player, cost twice as much to overcome, and they cannot be overcome by other means. That's insane. That means if you're first player, which not each chapter always starts with the solo player going last. That means if you're first, you only start with 1 gold, and now the owl, it's not only do you have to spend all those resources to get up, now it costs double. But if you want a super hard challenge, you can easily do that, and each chapter has that. So, biggest negative is this is not a good 2-player campaign, but I don't know if it was really meant to be one. Maybe it was. I don't know. All right, so that's the campaign. Without going into too much spoilers, and I guess the story was serviceable. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh wow, this rivals all those story-driven campaign games that I list. Sleeping Gods is shit compared to this. It's not. Tainted Grail, wow, what a joke. It is serviceable. Like, it's not bad. It basically feels like it's a story that you would expect to come in a game like this. So, yeah, I mean, if you played the Indiana Jones music or whatever other soundtrack while you're playing this, then I bet the story would feel even more grandiose. But other than that, it's not bad, but it's not great. All right. So the other thing that this expansion comes with, I mean, besides items and artifacts that can just be thrown in, are 2 new leaders and 2 new track boards. So the missing leaders, or the expedition leaders, came with 2 boards as well. Sorry, I think just 1 board. 2 new tracks. Yeah. So let's talk about the boards first, or the board. Just drop all that off. So 1 is the waterfall. And again, in the campaign, you have to play with this, and you also have to play with the white tree. So the waterfall, I'll just talk about kind of the tracks. They're great. I mean, I know a lot of people give Arnak shit for it being like, oh, it's all about the research tracks. Yeah, you're exploring an island. What else would you do here? I mean, just burn. I mean, depending on who you are, you might just burn to the ground. Yeah, it's all about you're an archaeologist. You're meant to go explore and study artifacts. And I've always loved that the first expansion gave you more, so now you have 6 or 8. I think it's 6 research tracks to go up. But anyway, so the waterfall adds basically like shortcuts and ways for like rapids to be free. So if you're the first one to go over, it's actually going to be free for you, and it bumps up. So it's actually the faster you go up the waterfall, the less resources it's going to be, so you don't want to lag behind, on top of it having locations that no one will ever get to see because they're on here, and ways for you to completely skip a whole section. But if you skip those, you're not getting temple tiles, so it's kind of a quick jump to the top, but you might be missing out on some points. So this is a nice additional variant. And then the white tree temple tile is also really cool because it has ritual spots that give you an alternate use for your idols. If you go there with your magnifying glass, you can place an unspent idol to get a really good bonus, and there's 2 of those. but it's also really expensive. A lot of rubies to go up on this track. So I think the temples were an excellent addition for this. I mean, this is probably the easiest thing to add to the game to give it a lot more variety instead of doing the bird or the snake or the whatever the other one was for the oh yeah, it was the monkey temple and the lizard temple from the first expansion. So another research track, which is awesome. And then it comes with 2 more leaders, the journalist and the mechanic. And they're fantastic as well. I really like how both of them play. I don't know which one's my favorite. The journalist is really cool because he gets a lot of free bonus stuff, depending on, he places like articles on sites. So if he goes to those sites, he can get articles which he can spend to actually get bonuses that are on his board. Like, let's see if I can just find him. Yes. I think that's him. Yep. So, yeah, he actually has, like, different slots you can slot in here, which are his news articles, and then he gets 3 free articles to place on, because these are where the free bonuses are. So, but he can eventually run out of those spots because he wrote his piece. But what's also really cool about him is that his notebook on the research track can actually go ahead of his magnifying glass because he's a journalist. He doesn't need to see anything to write about it. He can just speculate. It can only go 1 space ahead, but the fact that he's the only one that can do that, I think makes him extremely unique. And if he completely fills out a row on his sheet, he actually unlocks blue spots for idols to go, which normally that costs you victory points to do blue, to do the blue aspect. But if he actually fills out a row, he gets others for free. So he's really cool. And then the other one, the mechanic, is also very unique because she has this cog wheel that she has icons that allow her to rotate it and get these silver symbol abilities. But she has these gold icons or gold tokens that she'll eventually get as the rounds progress that she slots in here. And whenever she rotates it and it's a gold symbol, she can move it and she can either pick the really powerful gold or the 2 silver adjacent to that. And she also has the accessibility of Rusty, the monkey. So she'll actually have 3. By round 3, she'll have the monkey available, so she can actually have 3 assistants. And at first, whenever I was playing her in the campaign, I'm like, oh yeah, Rusty the monkey, that's cool. And then I realized, oh shit, she's a mechanic. She's a grease monkey. That's why she has the monkey. That's awesome. But she's really, really cool too. I mean, there's only 6 games, so you don't play, like, I played a different leader every chapter, so I didn't do 2 of them. I didn't do the Baroness, and I didn't do the Explorer. But theoretically, you can do the 6 expedition leaders from this throughout the entire campaign, not touch the 2 new ones, but I definitely wanted to show the 2 new ones. They're a little bit more complex, of course, than some of the ones. They're about as complex as the Mystic, as is in here, but I also think they play way better. I don't know. I think I might like the journalist just a little bit better because I really love his theme centered around him of being like, oh yeah, no, it's journalism. I'll just write about stuff that's not even news yet. Like, so I love the fact that his notebook can go ahead of his magnifying glass just for a thematic purpose. In terms of game mechanics, I actually might like the mechanic. Game mechanics mechanic. But that's it. Yeah. I mean, this game just also comes with more new assistants, sites, like guardians. It's just more content on top of having a really fun, short but sweet campaign. So that's pretty much it. That's my thoughts. Now, I guess if this is going to be another one where it's like, oh, if I don't like Lost Ruins of Arnak, if I cream over Dune Imperium, is this expansion going to fix Lost Ruins? No. It's not. If you love Dune and Biram and hate Lost Ruins of Arnak, then no, a campaign centered around it is not going to make you fix it, and more of it is not going to work. So this is definitely an expansion for people who love Lost Ruins. And if you love Lost Ruins of Arnak, then then you probably already have the original expansion. But I would probably buy them in that order. I would get the Expedition Leaders expansion, then I would get this one. And the only reason I say that is so you can have leaders to play the campaign with. Nothing's stopping you from using the same leader each chapter. In fact, that's its own set of replayability. But I actually had a lot of fun picking the leader that I thought fit the chapter scenario best. But it just gives you more options, and it's just more cards and more variety, more deck building, more stuff. So I think this is a home run expansion. So Min and Elwyn, or Elvin maybe, Elwyn, as designers, I think they're still killing it. I really do. I hope this is not the last expansion for Lost Ruins. I think that this is a path they can keep going. Seems like they kind of do want to do more storytelling about this. I would not be upset if they did another expansion that was this again. Like another small solo campaign, new temple boards, new cards, new all that. I think this is really cool. So very excited to see what they do in the future if they continue to support Lost Ruins. Because I think this one's great. So on a scale of 1 to 10, the Missing Expedition gets a 10 out of 10 for me. I got no complaints. My biggest complaint was the campaign sucks ass at 2 players. So I just didn't do it at 2 and had a fantastic time playing it solo. No brainer 10 expansion for me. So that's it, everyone. That's my thoughts on the Lost Ruins of Arnak Missing Expedition expansion. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.